Hello, my name is Mireille Guiliano, and I'm the author of Women, Work, and the Art of Savoir, Faire, Business Sense and Sensibility. Yes, business etiquette is a fancy word, but it's like so many things in life. It comes and goes, and right now I think, in spite of Twitter, in spite of all the new ways of communicating that are made casual or simple or sometimes close to vulgar. Business etiquette is more and more needed. Actually, there are people making a lot of money opening schools to teach young kids, because today a lot of parents don't have the time or don't take the time to teach them what my mother taught me when I was 6, how to set the table and where the glass goes and when the napkins go and what I should do with my hands and arms and things like that. And now it's even more important because young people are being asked to move to Japan or New York or London or Madrid and or India, and in some of those cultures, these are very important rules, and what works in one country doesn't work in the other one. And at the end of the day, there are some timeless elements. You always need to respect the people you work with and you work for, and sometimes, again, you're not being taught that at school, that there is a proper way to address them. So a couple of rules never hurt, and it's part of your communication skills, as I said earlier. And to me, in business, communication skills are it's a huge topic, and they will never be out of style. From thank you notes to greeting people to not neglecting the person when you enter at the reception, and not judge people by what they do or where they sit or who they are, but just treat them equally. Well, I talk a lot about creating your own brand because, in many ways, because Veuve Clicquot in America didn't have its own DNA, we had to create it. And while doing that, it occurred to me that you could apply this analogy to oneself, because what happens in the workplace is you have to have your own brand and you have to know what your own DNA is, because you're judged on what you look, on what you say or what you do, and until you know that and you fit into what you're trying to do or the company you're trying to work for, you can make a lot of faux pas. So it's very important, and it's not that difficult to do, but it needs to be done, and you need to have, like a brand, a consistent message and not an overcomplicated message either. And that, in a person, has to even reflect in her look. I mean, if you come and work for a company and you have, too much makeup, too much jewelry, and you work like you're not the part, at 40 you work like you're 18, this sends a message, and young people are not often aware of how it translates and how people interpret things based on all kinds of signals. Communication skills to me is very essential. And that doesn't mean only the way you talk, but the way you write, the way you communicate, by all the high-tech gadgets we have today, but also when you make a presentation, your gestures, your facial movements, what you do with your hands, with everything means something to someone. So you need to be prepared for that, and that is not taught in business school. In life, to me, there are like these four anchors. One is of course health, and although you can not always control health, but you can in many ways help it by preventing not being healthy, by eating healthy, by living a healthy life, and so many things I talk about in the book. So health is a number one element. Another one is, a network of family or friends who can support you and help you and know when you can use some help or need some rest, or etc. And the third one is a good employment situation, which of course in our days can be very tricky. But what you can do about it to change the situation, because it's easy to whine and complain, but sometimes people don't realize that you can also make your own luck and get yourself ready for new opportunities, because there are always opportunities. And having gone myself through a few recessions, I know that recession come and go, And then, of course, the last one, which is not the least, is you. And you means your principle, your values, your interests, your time, and you time, what I call me time. And that's probably the most important one, and the one that women tend to be the weakest at, because by nature we are, good at nurturing, we are good at multitasking, managing, juggling, all these things, and we don't think of us. And yet, to have this kind of healthy balance between work and life, you need to take care of yourself. And that might, again, is different for everybody, but it might be just, 5 or 10 minutes a day, or it might be a couple of times a week, or it can be an hour a day. But you shouldn't feel guilty about taking that time for yourself. Yes, I made a point to talk, in a book on business, I talk about all kinds of topics like etiquette, like wardrobes, like entertainment. And wardrobe, in my experience with having a lot of young women staff, can certainly be stressful, because people, especially in the luxury business, people have to dress well, but that doesn't mean you have to spend a fortune on clothes, or wear designer clothes. And you need a couple of items. And I remember when I was young saving a whole year to buy myself a new suit, and with that, the next year I would buy a nice blouse, or another season a scarf, and all of a sudden I had 4 outfits out of one. So you've got to use your brain, and again learn about your DNA and what you want to look, what image you want to project. The next step for me is to go back to New York and one thing at a time, and launch the book in New York and the States, visiting half a dozen cities and doing readings and lectures. And then, of course, I have one very important website, my French Women Don't Get Fat website, which is free and has readers from all over the world, and is quite demanding in terms of my time and my input. I also do some writing for different groups, different magazines, and I'm finishing the third of the French Woman trilogy, the French Woman Don't Get Fat cookbook, which is a cookbook, but much more than that, because it comes back to more health tips and more great eating tips, and a little magical trick for those who didn't like my leaks, but there are a few of them. And then who knows, maybe write some more, maybe lecture a lot, definitely lecture a lot, because already many universities have asked me to come and talk. And that will take me into next spring. And of course, as you probably know, there is a movie that is being made, or half made. At least the scripts are done, and there are now directors looking at it and finding some actors and all that. But Hilary Swank's company bought the rights and is determined to do it. So it's a bunch of women behind it, and I feel that if there's a will, there's a way, and hopefully it will be done and translate the message of the books, and be at the same time a romantic comedy and filmed in beautiful spots, which will give women a little, hour and a half of relaxed time and beauty, and not having to face violent and brutal and sad and depressing movies. So if you accomplish that while giving the message, it's a good thing. So, but when that will be, I don't know yet. So meanwhile, I take it, a day, a week at a time, and enjoy myself, just speaking about messages, and trying to help a few women here and there. My advice to women at the start of their careers is that, don't let yourself be fooled. There are lots of opportunities, but also it's important to sort of have a reality check, of what your skills are, what your interests are, and don't force yourself into something you don't want to do. I mean, like last night, I had a young woman who said, she's desperate because here she's in business school, but her parents want her to take over their health care business, and she has no interest in that. And it's creating a lot of stress and fights. And And at the end of the day, you know, it's her life and it's not going to please her parents, but she has to do what's good for herself. So you have to be a little bit selfish and do what's good for you, because nobody knows you better than you do. And if you don't know yourself good enough, you know, get some help, get some direction to help you find, you know, what's your interest. Sometimes it doesn't take much, and that's where mentors are good, because they have the experience and the little wisdom to see right away, you know, where you'd fit and where you wouldn't. And at the end of the day, it's just be yourself, you know, whether it's giving an interview or looking for a job or developing your own brand. Don't try to be what you are not. Just be yourself, because people who have more experience, are more mature, will always see if you're fake. So don't try to play that game, and just, you know, you are who you are. So enjoy it, and good luck with work wishes and bubbly realities.